Hi, it's me, IARESMART. So anyway, you may have seen a video I made a couple weeks ago. I think I don't remember when I made it. Anyway, I made a video talking about Spider-Man because I really like Spider-Man. And anyway, that was specifically on The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. And in that, I mentioned I might make a video about Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. So here's that video basically. Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. These are known as the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, because that's what they're directed by, or the Tobey Maguire ones, because Tobey Maguire is the one who plays Spider-Man this one. Also, he is my favorite out of all the three Spider-Mans. Andrew Garfield, he's pretty good, I will admit, and I like Tom Holland too, but Tobey Maguire is still my favorite. That's a personal preference, but yeah. Anyway, you may have noticed, or maybe you haven't, but I've seen these movies have been getting really popular again, which I find kind of weird. Because, I mean, like, Spider-Man 1, this came out in 2002. That's as old as me. I mean, it's a little bit older than me. It came out earlier in the year, but... And I came out a bit later in the year. But anyway, that's beyond the point. So yeah, these movies are a little bit older. And also, these came out, like, before a lot of, like, the other big superhero movies became a thing. So, like, this was before Iron Man, even, I think. So yeah, like, these were kind of like the first in superhero movies on the big screen. So that's a pretty big step. But anyway, I don't know, I've heard lots of different opinions. A lot of people don't like these movies, but a lot of people really dearly love them. And I had very vague memories of watching them when I was, like, really little. Like, I only kind of remembered parts of Spider-Man 3, and that was it. And so, about a year ago, I went back and I got these, and I rewatched them, and I gotta say, they're pretty good. I really do like these. There's a certain, I don't know, charm to these movies, is what I'm trying to say. They're really good. That's my personal opinion. But I do know a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people don't like Tobey Maguire's acting is the main problem. And I will admit, there are a lot of other problems in the movie, which I'm gonna get into in this video. So yeah. Basically, if you haven't, I'd recommend you go watch these, because they're really good. They're definitely good movies. They're not too difficult to find. You can probably rent them somewhere, I guess. Or just go out and buy them like me. I found a 5-movie collection that also had Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 in it. I got all these. It's crazy. Anyway. So yeah, let's just start out with each of the movies. So pretty much Spider-Man 1. It starts it off. We have Peter Parker. He, gets bit by a radioactive spider. And then he goes off and fights Norman Osborn, who's the dad of his best friend, Harry Osborn. And then Norman Osborn is struggling until he becomes the Green Goblin. And then he and Spider-Man have to fight. And that's how it goes through the whole movie. And also this entire time, Peter wants to get with Mary Jane, who's this redheaded chick. And I'll get back to her later. But, yeah. Anyway, they have this whole thing. Harry and Mary Jane start dating for a while. It's this whole thing. Eventually, the Green Goblin figures out, hey, Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So then he starts screwing with the people Spider-Man cares about. And, we get yada yada yada. Eventually he goes and defeats the Green Goblin. And the Green Goblin dies. And then Harry's like, well, crud, Spider-Man killed my dad, and now he's mad. Except Spider-Man didn't actually kill his dad. He just kind of let him die. It's this whole thing. You know if you've seen the movie. Yeah, then we have this. That's Spider-Man 1. It's great. It's definitely not my favorite, but it's a really good one. Now, Spider-Man 2. This one is really good. Now, there's actually, fun fact on this disc, this has the theatrical and extended edition, because there's a Spider-Man and a Spider-Man 2.1, which has like some extra scenes put in it. It's a minor thing, but it's kind of cool. Anyway, in this one, we see that Peter has been Spider-Man for a while. And now he's trying to deal with both, college, his job, like trying to make money. He also has to deal with rent, and he has to be Spider-Man on top of this. And again, he still has feelings for Mary Jane, but he knows he can't be with her, because if he's Spider-Man, if he's with her, that'll put her in danger. So we have all of this going on, and just throughout the entire movie, we see Spider-Man is trying to balance all these things, and through this entire thing, he's failing at pretty much everyone, but at least he's still Spider-Man, But then, as his confidence just goes lower, and, he just starts to lose his Spider-Man powers. and then eventually he just gives up and goes back to a normal life. And he gets to, and it's great for him, but throughout this entire time, there's Dr. Octopus, you know, this guy. Wait, that's Spider-Man 3. Wait, sorry, this guy. Yeah, there he is. Dr. Octopus. Arguably my favorite villain in this whole thing, because he's just great. He has a decent backstory, and you know, where he wanted to do a good thing, his whole experiment went bad, and then we get Dr. Octopus. It's great. I really like Spider-Man 2. But yeah, so eventually Peter realizes he has to be Spider-Man again. We get the train scene, which is a really good fight scene. However, there isn't an above-ground train in New York, so I don't know where they got that from. Anyway, then we go on, yada yada yada, and we get to the end, and then eventually Doc Ock sacrifices himself and destroys his creation, which is literally the sun. I don't know how he just built the sun, but that's the whole thing. Beyond the point. Anyway, now Mary Jane knows that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and she's like, well, crud. And then at the end of it, they get together. And, you know, there's another thing I'm going to talk about with Mary Jane. We'll get back to that. So Spider-Man 3. This is considered the bad one. So bad that, you know, they were going to make a Spider-Man 4, but then Sony canceled it because they didn't like how Spider-Man 3 did. It did poorly and was received badly. And even Sam Raimi himself feels really bad about Spider-Man 3. Because of why? Because of Venom. You see, in this movie, there are way too many villains. Because they had, you know, they originally were going to have, this is the one where Harry becomes the Green Goblin. Like Green Goblin 2, I guess? I don't know. Harry finds out, oh, my dad was the Green Goblin. I didn't know that. So now Harry is going to try and kill Peter, because he thinks he killed his dad. Which didn't happen. But anyway, that's the part of the movie. Also, there's another competitor, there's another photographer who's taking pictures of Spider-Man for the Daily Bugle. Peter doesn't like this. This other guy's name is Eddie Brock. We'll come back to him later. Anyway, there's also Sandman, who's just an escaped convict. And also, by the way, he killed Peter Parker's dad. I mean, not dad, Ben. He killed Uncle Ben. Yeah, that's a thing. They retconned that. So already this movie is getting really confusing. And then it just gets more confusing because now he's a Sandman. He does sandy stuff. Peter finds the Venom suit, becomes Black Suit Spider-Man, kills Sandman, kind of, and also it beats up Harry. Harry has amnesia now for some reason. So much is going on. It's a really confusing movie. And eventually, you know, Harry and Peter team up. They put aside their differences. They have a couple fight scenes in between, but, you know, they end up putting aside their differences. Venom has now moved on from being with Parker to being with Eddie Brock, and he teams up with Sandman, and they try to beat him up, and then Sandman, you know, then Venom dies, Eddie dies, and then Sandman is like, hey, sorry I killed your uncle. Peter's like, nah, it's cool, man. And then Harry dies, and that's the end of the movie. So yeah, it's definitely the worst movie. However, it's still my favorite. Because it's absolutely iconic. It's hilarious. When we have the scene where Peter just dances down the New York street like this, oh my gosh, that scene is iconic. It's the best. It's a very fun movie to watch, simply because of just it being bad. It's definitely falls into the so bad it's good. So I think that's the good part. And I will admit it's a bad movie. Like, if there's really not much to be enjoyed here, except for, you know, like all the funny stuff. And that definitely sits for the whole trilogy. There's a lot of problems with it. But yeah, it's definitely a fun trilogy to watch. If you just want to sit down and watch something that's fun, that's good. You have all of them. Spider-Man 1 is the good origin story. Spider-Man 2 is the actually good story that goes deep into the character of Peter Parker, which I really like. And we get to see a bunch of him. Spider-Man 3 is the silly, funny one. So, that's pretty much it. But yeah. So, characters, I mean, I really love Tobey Maguire. A lot of people don't like him, kind of because of his cry face. Just kind of looks like a baby cry face. I don't know. I don't think that's a good complaint. I think he actually has a decent cry face, but whatever. That's a thing people always point out. So, whatever. I think he looks fine. But whatever. So, I'm going to go to Mary Jane now and explain to you why Mary Jane is the worst character. So, basically, Mary Jane is manipulative. She's playing with Peter's feelings. She's just always actively just being weird just to screw with Peter. It's awful. Peter should not be simping over her as hard as he does. Peter Parker is a simp for Mary Jane, and it's awful. It just destroys him. So anyway, he spends the entire first movie being like, "Oh, Mary Jane," and Mary Jane doesn't even notice he's there. And he's like, Mary Jane. And then he gets Spider-Man powers. And he's like, oh, cool. I'm all buff now. I can be with Mary Jane. And then he kind of does for like half a second. And then he beats up Flash. And then she freaks out. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, she starts dating Harry. For whatever reason. And she's just with Harry. And then while she's dating Harry, she starts talking to Peter. And because she's, I don't know. It's this whole thing. Then she and Peter are hanging out just to screw with Harry. Then Harry gets all mad. And then she gets captured and whatnot, yada yada. And then she's like, oh, at the end of the movie, after Norman Osborn dies, right? Green Goblin. She's like, oh, Peter, I want to be with you. Nah. And Peter's like, nah, sorry, we can't be together. He doesn't tell her, but it's because he's Spider-Man. Whatever. Second movie is the worst. Because she has gone off, and at the beginning of the movie, she's like, hey, Peter, we should be together. Peter's like, no, we can't. She's like, okay. Oh, by the way, I'm seeing somebody. She was actively trying to flirt with Peter while she was dating some other guy. She spends the entire movie talking about this guy just to screw with Peter. Multiple scenes where Peter's like, oh, I really want to be with Mary Jane. And he tries to do this. And she's like, ooh, yeah, you definitely want to be with me. But you can't. You can't because I'm with this guy. She's actively just screwing with him just to be that way. And then she ends up at the end of the movie, just saying, you know what? I'm not going to marry this guy. Even though Peter watched her get engaged. But at the end of the movie, she's literally on the day of her marriage. She's like, nah, I'm going to go be with Peter because I found out he's Spider-Man. It's the worst, and it sucks. And it just gets worse in 3, because Harry's back, and he tries to date Mary Jane again, and this works, because, he kind of threatens to kill Mary Jane for whatever reason. And then she's just trying to be, she dumps Peter, and he was going to try and marry her, and there's this whole thing, and at the end of the movie, they just end up fine. It's the worst. Mary Jane is the worst character. In my opinion, Peter should have just stayed with Gwen. It would have been better. Gwen is much better. She actually is nice to Peter. They both have similar interests. They both are, because they're both in the lab together or whatever. She actually likes Peter. She doesn't ever try and be mean to Peter. She doesn't act so selfish and be like, oh, Peter, why'd you go and kiss Gwen? Even though it was this thing they did for publicity. But whatever. I'm getting off track here. Mary Jane is the worst. Gwen is way better. So yeah, overall, the trilogy is great. I think you should watch it, because it's actually pretty good. There's a lot of great moments. There's a lot of funny parts. And if you like memes, there's actually quite a few memes, if you're familiar with some of the memes. Peter doing this down the street. I'm something of a scientist myself. I missed the part where that's my problem. These are all iconic and amazing lines. Just in there, what you doing up there, staying away from you. That's a cute outfit. Did your husband get it for you? That's kind of a weird one. That particular comment did not age very well, but that's from this one when Peter's fighting a guy in the ring. But anyway, I'm getting off track again, as I usually do. My final point, watch the trilogy. It's really good. I think it's a bit underrated, and I'm glad people are watching it more now. And I'm definitely glad that I watched it again, because it's pretty good. So yeah, that's all I have to say for it. There's probably a bunch of stuff I forgot that I wanted to mention, but overall, my main points: 1 is good, 2 is the best, 3 is bad, but it's my favorite, and Mary Jane sucks. Those are all the points I had. Bye.